Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk, think show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One, and today we're going to look at reality. Just reality and what's going on around where we live, what we do, you know, the reality of things, and figure out, what our moves are, what the solutions are. Because in the middle of this, whatever you want to call it, we can't be as gullible as to let ourselves fall for people who are telling us what to do because they could be leading us to our doom. So we have to be on that thinking aspect, not, knowing what's going on. Many of us, which many have, and you can tell, are really turning into that natural, the beings that they are. It's amazing. And those people and those like those are going to be needed for these upcoming months because you can see with all this going on, the zombies are out. And we can't pretend like we don't see it and blah, blah, blah. It's really going on. So what I wanted to do today was show you how the cities, and it's probably this, and I'm sure it's the city you live in, how the cities are set up to, kind of control the so-called African American community. And the damn near the whole city doesn't say anything. Today I'm gonna share with you Birmingham. As we go on, I'm gonna share other cities with you. Other cities to look at. I mean, St. Louis is a cold one. Go to these cities and see how they are against you with the monuments and all that other stuff that they show. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat room. How you guys doing today? Thank you for joining us today. Take this and share it, and share this in your, the towns where you live, because in some towns they're more prominent than others. So this town we're going to look at today is Birmingham, Alabama. Now everybody knows about Birmingham. It's a shithole of a city. It's one of those, the South, they're not allowed to, ideas aren't allowed to flourish. They're taught the real basic shit education, and all that religious stuff. And it has held their children from advancing when the world is moving, doing different things. We're still in that. Well, I don't know, boss. We into that. I mean, big time. Complaining, not using our full potential to do the things we know to get done. We know these things, but for some reason we can't let go of the powers that be. And we on this planet, and that's what we choose to do as a group of people. So I'm going to share how these cities are putting up little blocks so we can fall into, and we fall into them too. So this is Birmingham. Now this is down there where all the money and stuff is, the big banks, the tall buildings and all this. And I'm going to ask a question at the end of this. Let me ask it now because I want to see if you can see it. Why is all this stuff surrounding the big money buildings down there? This is downtown. This is when you walk down the street. If you're visiting Birmingham, which a lot of people do, because a lot of people really want to get the history, what went on here, because it's bad. It's bad. It's not just the poor folks. They're the victims of it. It's the Negroes who are in positions to make sure that it happens. And so we're going to look at these monuments that's in this city. And like I say, check out the cities where you're at, because why they got us calling ourselves African American, because the further you go back in history, African Americans aren't on the scene. And so now what you're trying to do, you're trying to have a lot of people revise history and call Frederick Douglass an African American when he himself never uttered the term. See, this is what we do. And see, we're going to have to pay for that. And I'm going to show you how that's done through these images of this city, the pictures in this city that I took today. This was in 1962, 63, 64, damn near 60 years ago. And I want to show you what the generation back then passed on to their children and grandchildren today. And this is the kind of shit we can't sleep on. We can't, but I didn't know, you didn't. Then we really like being in that confused, I don't know mode. Seriously, because really, this is what we're doing to ourselves. The rest of the world is kicking us in the ass because this is what we do to ourselves. So if you ain't been coming up with solutions while this whole pandemic has been going down, everybody should come out the house with a solution to something. Just don't tell me, I've been watching Netflix. Done raised Netflix stock through the roof, but won't raise your own stock. I don't get it. So let's go through these images, and I want to show you something. Now, these images, when you come to Birmingham, these images are all over the city. When you walk, people who walk by them every day, people who go to work every day walk by them, homeless people walk by them all the time, kids on field trips, they'll go and check this out. They'll go and check out these so-called monuments in Birmingham. Okay? And most of it is bullshit, which you're about to see. But you're going to see that what they had back then, how it was planted to the following generations. And you'll see why you got what you got. This was started way before that, because back then these people weren't called African Americans. You got to remember that. You can't act like you, no, these people weren't called African Americans. So this is how they try to erase you and move you out of history. How to always have you confused about yourself, never knowing, arguing. Come on, y'all. Seriously. This image right here, our Constitution and colorblind and does not tolerate classes among citizens. This is right by the courthouse. I forgot to get the picture of the courthouse. The courthouse has a swastika on it. Seriously. I asked Negro attorneys, what's up with that? I ain't never seen that before. For real, cuz? This is where we're at. This is today, 2020. This is where we teach our children to go, who to go work for and worship and to beg from. Instead of being on your own land and having your own court system and bringing them into your court for the transgressions of the environment of you. Really, we haven't done that? Really? This is 60 years ago. This is the advancements. These are the advancements we have made. 60 years ago, what were the Japanese doing? How did they overtake you? What were the Koreans doing? How did they overtake you? How did they come from their places and get you to give them their money over the bullshit that they sell you. How did we fall for that? This is just a bald-faced lie. Your Constitution is not colorblind. And you don't tolerate classes among citizens. That's why you kill up everybody who stand up to what you're saying. This is implanted into the city. This is another image, the dogs thing. So how come 60 years ago they was using dogs to eat you up? Now everybody has a dog. How did that happen? It used to be, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but a dog was not allowed in the house. The dog wasn't mistreated. He had his own dog house out there. He slept outside. He ate outside. He was a dog. Now we got dogs living with us in the bed, in the kitchen. This is 60 years later. What kind of dog is that eating that brother up? Them German shepherds. German. These are animals that these people create to come and attack you. All these little small purse dogs and everybody, these are what, clones? Or I wouldn't say they're clones, but where were these dogs 50 years ago? Where were these dogs 70 years ago? Where are these dogs on all those indigenous pictures we show, all them Indian pictures we show? Where are these dogs? And this is how we're erased, because we just go along with it. We adopt what anybody comes up with, we adopt it. I would suggest we refrain from taking that path. Martyrs on the run. Now remember, this is when you're downtown Birmingham. Civil Rights Heritage Trail. Why is your disgusting history for the world to see for your children to see every day, to remind that this is all over the place? And when I get to the park scene, y'all gonna be like, dude, you lying. This is to remind you where you are, not where you've been, where you are. So you will repeat the same thing every day. See, they set up their cities in the old Roman way. They got to keep you in line. They can't have you maturing and blossoming into something, because 60 years after that, you would think the people of this area of the South, I mean, if we go by the way other nations have thrived, where are we at? Seriously, come on. How are all these other nations coming here, getting ahead of you? Or getting ahead of us? Because I know some of y'all, that's all we do is whine. And then, the funny part, we go tell boss in 2020. Never thought of, we not thinking everything that we need, that we can create, we turn our backs on that to uphold this system that we live in. No justice in it at all. No justice in it at all. And we're the ones who's supposed to be bringing justice. And we don't. These people back then, they sent the children out to march. They had a whole bunch of children marches. Where were the adults? The adults couldn't go out because they couldn't leave work. You see how you're always handcuffed? You can't do anything. So if you go ahead and Google, find out what all these people did. Most of the people in the civil rights era, they're sitting down now, they're retiring. A lot of them will tell you they got whacked in this coronavirus. Their pensions were tied into the 401ks, were tied into the stock market, blah, blah, blah. This is where we are. This is where we are today. So 60 years later, so I'm going to show you something else. Check this out. These are just some images I took, walking down the street today. So you remember those images you saw in Birmingham of them shooting the people with water hoses? This is in a park. Now, I'm originally from California. So my idea of a park is, look, get a picnic basket, juice a juice a honeydew melon, take some vodka out, some strawberries, take your girl out to the park, and y'all just sit and vibe on the grass and try to solve problems. Your artists tell you that all the time. You call their music old. It's some of the biggest selling music ever. Your artists were telling you that, all of them. And the music that we've devolved from what was playing on the radio back then today, huh? And we walking around here like, dude, solve problems. Solve problems. Solve problems. That's all of our job. It's not just mine. It's not just yours. It's just not hers. It's just not his. All hands on deck. This is the picture of them shooting the people with the water guns. This is May 15th, 2020 in a park. So what do you think when you see this? What do you think when you see this? Is this the reason why we shoot each other with reckless abandon now? You got all these guns. Everybody got all these guns. These cats got heat-seeking missiles, drones. And we still think buying weapons from them is, This is today. This is today. This is what the African American is being led to, because like I told you earlier, these people weren't called African American. African American is a new phenomenon. Anybody think otherwise, come and prove your point. But don't sit up and lie and bullshit the people. to keep them confused, which many people like. Man, this is in the parks today. This is what kids go to field trips. This is what people who come out of town take pictures of. This is in your city. These are the parks. So whatever you think of a park, I know everybody think of a park as the place to go chill, have a good time, kids swinging, playing in the sandbox, got people sitting up under a tree, having a good time. This is in your parks. This is in your parks. And we cool with it. And you have black mayors. Do you think where Jewish communities are, they have pictures of those SS guys beating the shit out of them in them camps? Why do we keep repeating this history to our children? This the best we can do. Because when these cats have meetings, I go to them, they make sure I don't talk. This is what's fed to us every day. This is kind of the reason we find ourselves in. You'll notice that the African American only does what his master tells him to do. That's it. He does nothing else. He thinks of doing nothing. He doesn't think. The African American is a made up person. It's like the scarecrow. It's a new people. They have no history. They have no time. They use the time of other people. They're not natural to the planet. They'll tell you that if you ask them. This is what they are. They're not you. And so to get them there, they had to separate them from the black folks, had to separate them from the Negro folks. This is how they peel you off over the years. They just don't do it in just one swoop. They let you sit in that pot for a minute to remember. There was a time when the average sister was having 10 to 15 kids. And people, man, why is she having all them babies? It's not that she's having 10 or 15 kids. She's having 20 to 30 hands. And that's something we've been cut off from because we're not into putting our hands on the earth. We don't believe in that no more. We scared of that. We might get some dirt under our fingernails. Amen. Amen. So these are parks. These are parks today. These are the parks that are going on. I'm going to share some more with you. These are in the parks. These are on the streets. These images. Okay, so that's another image of the water hose shooting. I just got up right here on the picture and took a picture down. But this is the street right here. You see all the parking meters, and this part of this is called the Freedom Walk. If you can believe that shit, it's called the Freedom Walk. So this is going around the park, and when y'all see this shit, you're gonna be like, dude, you playing? Check this out. So that's them shooting at people with the water hoses. These are images today, Friday, May 15, 2020. This is what your children see. This is what when your children go to a trip. Mama, sign my field trip slip. Remember that? This is what your kids are going to see. This is in the park, y'all. This is in the park. Them and them German shepherds. Isn't it the same thing that they doing to brothers to this day? This was to get you ready for today. This was to get you ready for today. They needed to build the system. Who did they use to build the system? You. They're finished with you now. They're not needed no more. Even though the system is crumbling because it's old, it's outdated. You got cities 200 years old that plumbing needs through the whole city needs done. This is why solution. People who have roots in these places down south and stuff, you have some beautiful places. Start get on your land and build. Get them hands. Start building places that can be conducive to life. These cities aren't conducive to life. All the places that you ran away from during this time, because this is what they were doing, scaring you out of your homes. I know people from Mississippi who will not go back to this day. Then this is another one. This is what I'm saying, man. We do shit and wonder why we in the position we in. You have black city councilmen, black mayors, African American doctors, nurses, teachers. I ain't afraid of your jail. And now you damn near pushing 3 million people behind bars. You see how they walk you into your doom? And the people who were so-called educating you, come on. The schools down south are abysmal. They should never open up. I mean, I can't believe we haven't started a whole new school system. You graduating college at 10. Really? We think this is the best. We think what they're doing is the best for us? This where we are? Yeah. They got you behind jail in the park. This is the park. How am I supposed to spread a blanket out right there, hang out with my girl, and this is right here? What, huh? Well, I mean, how do we do, explain. This is where we are, y'all. This is where we are. This is in a park. And when you ask people, well, why is that like that? Oh, this is just to remind the people what it was like. It's like that now. What are you talking about? It's like that right now. This is what we're supposed to look at every day? Okay, so when you go into the park, this is what greets you. When you go into the park, this is what greets you. On your knees, praying to a God that has never, ever came to your defense. This is in a major sector of downtown Birmingham. This is what your children run into every day. And you wonder why we walking around with our pants around our knees? Seriously? And we won't try to fix it. We'll just go along and people will tell you there's a new type of oxygen out and you can't breathe it, so hold your breath and we'll tell you when we can breathe again. That's where it's going. That's where it's going. So this is what I'm saying, y'all. This is where they got the so-called African American. Remember, these people weren't called African Americans. You got to keep that in mind. If you don't keep that in mind, it'll kind of lose you, because people say, "Oh, African American." There was no African Americans in the 1940s, huh? Are you kidding? You know that, and you know it, but you'll come up with some bullshit to try to make it seem like it's true when it's not. And you'll teach your children and your grandchildren that. Where do you think you'll be 60 years from where you are today? Think about it. If you keep on this path that these people back then set you on, where do you think you'll be 60 years from now? And everybody knows this. This is the 4 little girls that was killed in the bombing. Again, why didn't Jesus stop that? These are 12-year-old girls. And this is what I'm saying. We worship this stuff. How much? I mean, just from that time, I ain't talking about a day before that time. From that time today, how much have we invested in these black churches? And what has been the outcome? Come on, how many prayers have we sent up? And this is all we do is play games now. You better stop playing. That shit's over, dude. And it's embarrassing when a so-called black man talks about his reverence and love for Jesus. Are you crazy? Huh? And this is where we're at. This is what we teach our children today. You ain't heard Jesus in this coronavirus though, have you? These are the 4 girls that were blown to bits. You got another one. She's the 5th one. She survived. She's here in Birmingham now. And she's pretty cool. There go your ministers again. Again, these were the foot soldiers. So you'll notice that the children were the ones getting abused most of the time. So a little after this is when these people went into the Black Panthers. And we know how that turned out. A lot of y'all like to pretend like they were something great. They weren't. The history shows you. I mean, damn, can't we look at the history? Can't we look at the history independently and pick out what we shouldn't do this time? If we do that, we get cussed out. If we look at history, if the modern day indigenous person looks at it and say, hey, we're not from Africa, we're from here, doesn't that position him in a different way to think? Doesn't that position him in a different way to act? Doesn't that position him in a different way to speak to each other? We argue the fact. And these people will tell you. They got a couple. I mean, I just went through a small part of town. They got these all over the city. It's one of these, and it says when they were doing the civil rights, it was the Indigenous Peoples March and stuff like that. They were calling the ministers down here Indians. It's on these, what I'm showing you, it's on those. It's in the pictures on there. Yeah, how do you look at yourself as a foreigner in your own land? Who does that? The African American. The African American. Again, your relationship with the dogs. So when you remember, they go to Freedom Path again, and when you go down there, you have this. These are dogs coming out of the wall. This is the park, y'all. This is the park. These are metal dogs attacking you on the walk. This, and we cool with it. And they have the Civil Rights Museum across the street from it. If you ever want to bust out, if you ever want to laugh, I'm serious, because you have to laugh. It's so embarrassing. Of course, you don't run it; other people run it. It's another thing. We don't mind that. We don't mind if people throw a few dollars. Can you imagine doing stuff ourselves for ourselves? The ingenuity that we have. The can you imagine? Can you imagine if you say, you know what? We ain't gonna watch TV anymore. We're gonna come up with our own way of doing this. Can you imagine? And probably you gotta be on the same page. You need hands. Can you imagine? We say, you know what? Nah. If we just stop feeding this beast, if we just see it, if we could just see it, we don't even want to look. This is on freedom. This is on the freedom path. Okay, we're going to show you this last one. This last one. Nope. And so this is what I mean, y'all. This is how they prepare you for what they got planned for you. They have plans for you years ago. Years ago. This is another one of the posts. This is the police today. This is what's happening. Always notice when you are involved, they always have a weapon. Understand that, and you'll figure out some things. This is the church that the 4 girls were blown away in. Just right here on this corner, this little right here, this is where the church was blown up at. Right across the street from the park. I don't think we understand the magnitude of losing children till it's one of our own. These people still haven't paid for that crime. You have no courts to bring them into. You hoping that they gonna give you justice, and you want to be respected. Are you, huh? This is where we are. Again, always the ministers leading your whatever you do. Always an indigenous man telling you the people that are oppressing you, those people, they're telling you that their God is gonna come save you. This is what we've been going on over the past 60 years. So I just wanted to show you, just share with you a little bit of what's going on. These how the cities, this is how we are physically. I mean, when you see this every day, if you're going to school, if you're going to work, whatever, if this is in your city, this is what's emanating around your city. These are parks, y'all. And I thought something, it was supposed to be something cool. So when kids can look at that and say, oh, I did that. And the images I just showed you, we don't say that. So go around your city. It's there. It's there because it's the place where we all go. Like I said before, go to St. Louis is a cold one. Downtown St. Louis, you will see it off the bat. Also, another city, Memphis. Man, Memphis, they got it. They do it with the art. So Memphis, if you know about Memphis is a bluesy place. Real cool, right on the Mississippi. Real cool. Memphis is cool. They have to put they can't put things like I just showed you in the city, even though I know they do have them, but they have to do it in another way, like with art, because that's the way Memphis is spread in Memphis. The Mississippi River's going down it. See, there's certain environmental things that the people are subject to. The people who are of the earth. The people who are not of the earth, they don't. I don't believe that. The arts. So they pass the information on to the people in Memphis through the arts. So who you know from Memphis that came from Memphis? Al Green, staple singers. I mean, they probably weren't from these places, but they made music out of Memphis. Staple singers, Isaac Hayes, Earth, Wind, and Fire. You see what I'm saying? The music that came out of there was some of the baddest music ever. So, in order to trap those people into the mindset, they got to get them through the arts. And if you go around Memphis and you look at the art that people come from other places, painting all over Memphis. It's the saddest shit you'll ever see. So check out the town you in. Somebody was telling me earlier that a town you want to check out, because I didn't know nothing about, because this city never interested me, was Fort Worth, Texas. You see, if you want to see some cool shit, go to Fort Worth, Texas. So these are the ways these cities, they stop our growth. Everything, when you build something, you have to build it to show the people coming after you, this is the way to do it. You can't have no gaps and lashes like we have. This is just for the people who you're gonna take them, because I know everybody's not gonna get this. But at this point now on the earth, the so-called indigenous community of America, you got to be thinking as a group of people. You got to be thinking as hands. Check out if you can find, what was the brother name? Oh man, this brother's name slipped my mind, but his Pawns Linked Together, Steve Coakley. Steve Coakley. Look for a video of his called Pawns Linked Together. It'll blow you away. And these are brothers. I mean, these brothers didn't really get paid. They were just studying and getting information and bringing it to the community. So, making sure that we don't go to sleep. And as usual, we didn't support them. We supported everybody else. See, we have to pay for that. See, you can't do it and then just turn around like you didn't, because you set precedents for it to happen the next time. Then you won't change. You can't change your mind and say, oops, I've been going the wrong way. Let me veer a little to the left. You don't even do that. We get mad. We start crying. Always emotional. The problem never gets solved. So look, solar lawnmower. I say that. I'd like to build that because it'll help on the environment. It would create millions of jobs. You'll sell that all over the world. You imagine what that'll do? Solar lawnmower. So what's yours? So listen, thank you guys for sitting with me. Enjoyed it. We'll see you later on this weekend. We having Sunday. We had Sunday morning, having a sister who was running for Congress as a Democrat. Before she ran, somebody told her, "You better check that Democratic Party." She had to drop out of the race because she was like, "Oh no." So this is what happens when you learn different stuff. You just can't keep doing stuff because you want to do it and you feel like it and all that. No, you got to be right, man. You got to change. You can't be the same asshole you was yesterday. You got to change. And a lot of us, we find that hard to do. And it's really easy and it's really for the better. So listen, stay tuned. We got some more stuff coming. We're not having no bullshit talk, no arguing or nothing like that. We're giving you facts of what's going on so we'll know how to act. Many people say it's already over. We're doomed. We better start coming up with another way to live. Because I don't think you want to live the way these people want you to live. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Peace.